Thanks, Campbell. This is my third talk today, so sorry if you've seen me 3 times. Apologies for that. But this room has significance for me because the last time I gave a talk here, I had a series of graphs and my PowerPoint presentation was corrupted and the axes were all there, everything was there except the data. And so I was able to make up these beautiful ecological relationships and tell them that it was actually an R squared of 0.99 and beautiful linear, and it was wonderful. That hope it doesn't happen today. So this is what I want to talk about, the importance of the right foundation of predator catch data now. And I'm working with Dave Latham and Rochelle Binney on this, and it's work we're doing for Cape to City. And as I said before, Cape to City project is interested in projects that are for the wider benefit, not just this area. And this is another example of it. But Rochelle's had a lot of experience with this. Andrea presented her stuff in her talk yesterday, which is really cool stuff, but she had a nightmare getting the data on outcomes and predator densities, just because of the way data are collected and managed around New Zealand, around any country. It's always messy, it's always difficult. So most of her time's been just curating the data. So this talk is about that. It's got predator trap catch up there, but it applies to anything really, any other index of pest abundance. So, big opportunities here for landscape scale predator control offers huge learning opportunities. And here's examples. The efficacy of control programs. How are they going? Regional and national trends in predator abundance. Threshold levels of control that native fauna respond to. The primary routes of predator immigration. The mutual benefits between neighbouring control programs. And there's more. We don't really know what all the questions are going to be. And on that last one there, that's a question that a lot of people are asking. Here's an example. Steve Ellis showed this before for Taranaki. The Taranaki area is that the Taranaki Maunga project on the mountain there are very interested in what are the effects of that halo control and that coloured panel there that Taranaki Regional Council will implement over the coming years. One of their rationales is to protect the Maunga. These neighbouring effects are very important, mutual benefits, but how do we measure that that's actually going to be a real phenomenon? So the challenge here is the need to record and manage data in ways that allow robust analysis at local, regional and national levels. Easy to write a bullet point like that, but that is a major challenge. And also, different projects have different needs. They want to measure different things in different ways. And so how do you deal with that reality? With predator trap catch data, if you're going to use that as one of your... predator trapping will be here for the foreseeable future. There are other tools, but it is one of the main tools that are going to be used. So trap catch data is an important index of abundance. But if you're going to use it to answer some of those questions I just put on the board, you have to record effort, and that hasn't always happened. And indeed, I see some of the web-based systems, which I'll talk about in a second, that are on the web for recording data, basically record numbers of animals captured. And you have to account for effort. So we need numbers of traps recorded, the interval between checks, the number of traps with animals or that were set off. And in that way, you can calculate a trap rate per 100 corrected trap nights. That is the standard that's used internationally, and it's an easy way to calculate it. It's just algebra, it's just maths, but you're never going to get anywhere near it unless these data are recorded. And it'd also be very good to be able, if people recorded what trap types they're using, what bait types, where they were deployed, when changes were made, because we always change things, and what was changed. We need that stuff recorded for people to be able to go back and answer some of these questions. And depending on the question, it needs to be done at the appropriate spatial and temporal scale. But I won't go into that in much more detail here. So When we talk about data recording and management, repositories for trap-catch data are really important because, such as trap.nz, because they promote consistency and best practice just by their very nature, as long as they're set up correctly, that you need to fill this field in. Looking at the wrong one there, actually. Sorry, I'm looking at the next slide there, not here. Let me go back again. In terms of getting people to record things consistently and robustly, we want some guidance and coercion. So we're looking for consistency. Now, these are some of the agencies that we're just thinking of that could provide that sort of guidance. Predator-Free New Zealand's an obvious one. The Regional Council's Biomanagers Group is another. Sanctuaries of New Zealand is another, as is DOC. So, I mean, this is an area to be thought about and discussed, but how can we provide guidance and coercion for people to start recording these critical fields? So, this is what I just started on before. Repositories for trap-catch data actually do that. If you want to use those repositories, they actually force you to fill in the following fields. And here's a variety that are already available. And Peter Hanford talked about this before. Trap.nz is one of them. And I think he's incorporating effort now into that database. There's others, though, that are on the web. Catch IT. There's also the Data Commons initiative, which is really important in terms of providing access for others to look at these data and to sharing them. Critical part of the whole thing. And then there's some others. DOC's Walk the Line phone app and the main trust, which is Mapping Analysis Innovation Network, I think. It's all on the web. They've got a pest mapper system. So there's a whole lot of stuff out there at the moment, which is good, as long as it's recording effort, having the option for people to record effort. So have a look at this site here on the Predator-Free New Zealand website. You probably can't read that, but here they've got resources you can go to, which online tools are available, the feature composition of these tools, so it's talking about all the pros and cons of each of those, and which groups or organisations are currently using these tools. So that's a good resource to canvass these issues. But there's others. You know, this whole issue of data recording and management is something people have been thinking about for a long, long time around the world and in New Zealand. And these systems up here, DOC's module for animal pests inventory and monitoring, you can have a look at that stuff there. The National Pest Control Agency's website, they've got templates already for pests. And also there's regional councils have got systems as well. So that's bigger picture stuff. But these are good resources to have. Now, I want to just talk to you now about the power of having good trap-catch data. And there's many examples. This is just one. This site here is McRae's Flat in Eastern Otago, and it's a lizard reserve. And there's the boundary of it approximately. And it's the dark brown stuff is intact tussock. The green stuff is pastoral country around the outside. And that's a bit hard to see, isn't it? This is trap-catch data. DOC have been doing trapping out here over 4,000 odd hectares for many years, and there's a huge database available. And if you have a look at that, the bigger these are ferret trap rates. The bigger the circle, the more ferrets are caught. And if you look at in the middle of the reserve, they're not very big, but if you squint a bit on the outside, is this laser work? Yeah, these ones. Oh, it's a good laser. These are kind of bigger on the edge here. And there's also a conduit of immigration here, because that's where the agriculture is. The agriculture provides rabbits, and the cats and ferrets are in abundance in that area. So they're very much immigrating into that site. And Dean Anderson's a clever modeller in Lancaster, in Manaki Whenua, and he's been modelling these data, using them, and he's coming up with, just looking at the trap-catch data, coming up with really interesting ecological statistics like the density of cats and ferrets, their home ranges, the extent to which there's immigration into that area versus in situ breeding. And by the way, for cats, the immigration into that lizard reserve is in the order of 90%. Well, 90% of the catchers of cats in that reserve are immigrants, not in situ breeders. So that immediately starts making you think about how can we maximise trapping in this area to reduce immigration, like a ring of steel or whatever it is. So that's why it's important to have such data. And it also allows computer simulations to ask what-if questions about trapping. Now, if you heard Andrew Gormley's talk, he's developed a system, again, for Cape to City here called TrapSim. It uses trap-catch data, and it allows you to play, it's a simulation model, it allows you to play games about what if we halve the number of traps in the landscape? What do we get for that? What if we double them? What if we check them less frequently or more frequently? So he uses trap data to build these models. It's available for everyone. But an issue with trap-catch data, it isn't necessarily a robust indicator of predator population size. It measures populations. Measuring population size using the same method that reduces it isn't recommended, because trapping, as someone's mentioned before, is what you trap, not what's left. So when I'm talking about these things, we want to consider some of the other methods that can measure residual pest abundance, and there's a lot of them out there now. Cameras are becoming well used. There's a lot of science behind cameras. They're very popular. They're really good. Chew cards are another one, super cheap, good for rodents. Tracking tunnels are another one, good for rodents. But it depends on the target species that you're interested in. So, trap-catch data is good because it's free, but just be aware that it doesn't measure what you're not catching, because trapping selects for cunning animals that don't want to trap. So that's that. I've also noticed the notes are there too. That's quite clever. I haven't seen that before. Okay. So that's it, basically. Just want to reiterate, to maximise learning, which is what this is all about, we need systems in place to keep good records, especially on effort. And also we need ways of storing data digitally, which there are, lots of them, in a way, and this is the key thing, in a way that others can find it and use it. So that's important. If Rochelle Benny had that now, she'd be well advanced with her work. So we need a national framework for predator response monitoring, and that doesn't just have to be traps. So that's another Leckian slide that he wanted us to put up, but I think I've pretty well covered it. That agencies in particular, they want to assess trapping across their entire regions. We need a large database that can be utilised for management innovation, and we want to build towards a more consistent and common understanding. So that's a nice way to wrap it up, I think. So there you go. Thanks.